good. Think good. I feel good. I feel good. I live good. I live good. I live good. My mind is powerful. My mind is powerful. My mind is powerful. I feel so good. My mind is powerful. All right, all right. So we are joined here by the one and only Dr. Chris Clayton. How are you? How is life in your world?
Really well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it as well. I came across your content on TikTok, and just like everything, I try to go off of intuition. And when I have an insight to just reach out to somebody, I try my best to do it as quick as possible. Came across your content and immediately resonated with it because hypnotherapy is something that I practice on myself a lot. But it's also something that I wish more people knew about and understood. So having you here is a complete honor. So I really appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you. I will do my very best.
Yeah, 100%. So I've gone to your website, seen what you have to offer, and I'm just fascinated by the world of hypnotherapy. So in your own words, would you mind just elaborating on what is hypnotherapy and how can one use it to improve the quality of their reality?
Sure, absolutely. So let's start with hypnosis. Hypnosis is essentially a state in between being asleep and being awake. Everyone goes into hypnosis multiple times throughout the day. So, for example, when you're waking up in the morning, in that in between state between being asleep and being awake, that is hypnosis. When you go to sleep at night, as you're going to sleep, that's also hypnosis. Throughout the day, if you're kind of zoned out into something, you kind of dip into hypnosis a little bit. So normally hypnosis is a transitional state that you just go in and out of, or that your mind rests in for a little while. The job of the hypnotherapist is to access that state and leave you there long enough to give you suggestions. So suggestions are the key thing that makes hypnosis what it is. So once you're in that state, you can give instructions directly to the unconscious mind. So as a hypnotherapist, my job is to assess what the person's goal is, why they're having the obstacle that they're having, construct suggestions that will enable them to bypass that goal, and then use the hypnosis to install those suggestions.
That's phenomenal. So you talk about the fact that we slip in and out of hypnosis periodically throughout the day. So you also talk about the fact that the suggestions is what makes the hypnotherapist's job relevant, right? And
Right.
so what type of when you talk about suggestions, break that down for the average person to understand when you say suggestions.
Okay, so a suggestion is basically an instruction to your unconscious mind. Now,
Mm,
your unconscious mind has kind of its own language, but you already know the language. So here, let me give you this. I think you'll find this interesting. So as far as every person is concerned, there are three aspects to reality. There is the outside world, there's
okay.
you, that's the
Okay.
conscious mind, and then there's the unconscious or your brain. So
Okay.
information comes in from the outside world. You collect it with your five senses. You then think about it and interpret it based on your memories and your logic and so on. Then you imagine that information to your unconscious mind. It's basically your presentation to your unconscious mind.
Mm,
Now, here's the important thing. All your brain knows is what you imagine. Your brain knows nothing about the outside world. It knows only what you imagine. So this what I'm about to say is the
that's
fundamental
powerful.
basis. This is the fundamental basis of everyone's personality and everyone's strengths and weaknesses. Here's the fundamental basis of that. It's the difference between what you know and what you imagine. So, for example, let's just say that if someone's an alcoholic, they have a problem with alcohol or some other drug, they might know that they don't need the alcohol and they could just stop drinking and they would be healthy and nothing bad would happen. But if they imagine that they need it for some reason, then your brain's going to say, oh, you need that? Great. Here's some compulsion to have that. You're welcome. Okay.
Wow.
100% of the time, your brain is attempting to help you because it's simply following what you imagine, not what you know. So let me give you an example. So let's
Wow.
just say that you were selected to take place in a top secret psychological experiment. And
Okay.
it's you and a partner, and your job together is to control a robot on the outside world. Now, you are the observer. That means that you can see the robot and you can communicate with the other person, but you cannot control the robot. The
Okay.
other person is the controller. The controller can hear what you say and can control the robot, but cannot see the robot. Now,
Oh,
now
geez.
here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. Anything that happens to the robot also happens to you and your partner. So if the robot gets its arm cut off, you get your arm cut off and your partner gets your arm cut off.
Wow.
So it's vitally important that the two of you communicate clearly and act in tandem. So a lot of people are like, oh, my brain's trying to sabotage me. Let's go to the controller. Do you think the controller is going to want to sabotage you? Of course not, because everything that happens to you happens to the controller also.
Mm.
Both of you know you have to work together in order to get the best possible result for the robot. Of course, the robot is your body. And so we know three main things. So number one, we know that the one thing that the controller wants is instructions and information, because that's the only thing that he doesn't have that he needs. Number two, we know that under no circumstances will the controller want to sabotage the observer.
Yeah.
Why on earth would you do that? Your health is also entwined with that of the robot. And then number three, this is the most interesting one. So in the absence of instructions or information, the controller will do whatever they're most familiar with, because that's what's going to seem the most safe. So let's just say that you're on, so change example a little bit. Let's just say that you're on an invisible bridge.
Okay.
You need to get to the other side. There's a boulder rolling behind you at a slow pace. Okay. So you need to keep walking, and there's a person out there that knows where the bridge is. It's invisible to you. You have to walk. All right. So they're like, okay, now go straight. Okay. Now turn a little bit to the left. Now turn a little bit to the right. Boulders chasing you from behind will kill you if it touches you. And then suddenly you stop getting instructions. It's like, hello, where do I go? Boulder's still coming. What are you going to do? You're going to do whatever you've done the most frequently in the recent past. Okay,
Acting
so
off of habit, right?
Right? Yeah, because you're kind of getting an imagination of where this invisible bridge is going. So you're kind of drawing it, mapping it out in your mind. So if it's like you've mostly gone straight and the boulder's coming after you, guess what? You're going to keep going straight. So what that means is your unconscious mind will continue doing whatever it has been doing in the recent past, what the most familiar recent things that it's been doing, absent any instructions from you. Now, throw in the fact that the vast majority of people never give their unconscious mind direct, purposeful instructions, and then you can see why 99.5% of people are just doing whatever they've done before.
Yeah,
So
100%.
that's how the unconscious mind works. Sorry, no, go ahead.
No, go ahead. This is. I love the way you explain that. You said that the mind basically doesn't know anything outside of what you imagine.
That's right.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I've never heard it put that way before. I mean, just a simple tweak in terminology just opened my mind up to a whole nother realm of possibilities.
Yeah. So let me give you another example. So let's say that, like, okay, so let's make it a real example. So so I'll just give you a couple examples. So some people are afraid of dogs. I like starting with this one because most people aren't afraid of dogs, but you maybe know someone or met someone who's afraid of dogs. So they might know, because I have, like, some of my clients are like a mom or a dad, and the rest of the family wants a dog, but they're afraid of dogs. They come to me and we'll get rid of that. So imagine if, okay, here, let me give you an example. Let's just say that you were on a safari in the jungle, and you're having your safari, you're taking pictures, but then out of the corner of your eye, there's something rustling in the bushes, and you look over, and when you look over, there's nothing there. You're like, okay, and then it happens on the other side, and you're like, okay, what is it? That's really strange. Then all of a sudden, something just runs at you at lightning speed from straight up. I'd be afraid of that. That would create fear in my mind, right? And imagine if every single time you ever thought of dogs or ever saw a dog, that's how you imagined it. Okay, boom. I'd be afraid of dogs too. One of my primary messages is there is nothing wrong with your brain if it's purely a result of what imagination you're giving to your unconscious mind. If you imagine that dogs are like that, then your brain is going to be afraid. If you give yourself anxiety-producing thinking and your brain produces anxiety, that does not mean there's something wrong with you. In fact, that means that your brain is working perfectly. In fact, Yeah. In fact, it would be a better indicator that there's something wrong with you if you had anxiety producing thinking and then your brain did not in turn produce anxiety. So if you if you have anxiety, if you have boredom and then reach for things that are not good for you, if you can't seemingly help yourself when you're eating too much food or the wrong kind of food or whatever the issue is, that does not mean there's something wrong with you. That means that your brain is working properly and thinks it's doing its job well based on what you imagine.
Whoa, that is, man, I'm not just saying this, you have explained this better than anybody that I know. I
Well, thank you.
often, huh?
I just said thank you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, 100%. So this is a little controversial, but one thing that I'm passionate about is helping people understand that deep down inside we're essentially all human. Like, to me, it's the basic of all concepts to understand that. And so I often talk about hypnosis through race relations, and how if you've only been shown imagery of a person that has a different skin color than you, that makes you terrified of them, that's all you're going to think when you walk around in the world. And
Right.
it's going,
Yeah.
you know, and so I'm trying to share information with people to let them know that related to any subject, they can literally reprogram their mind.
Right. And here, let me give you an example that I like to use about that. You could take a child and grow them up and just tell them every day that people that wear orange shirts are bad. And then the first time they see someone with an orange shirt, they're going to think they're bad and be afraid. That does not mean
Yep.
there's anything wrong with the child. There's nothing wrong with that child. Their brain is simply doing what it was programmed to do. And of course, that
Whoa.
applies to race relations and so on. Like it's simply a matter of how we're taught as we're growing up and what kind of experiences we have. Your brain will have a fear reaction because it's trying to protect you, even if logically there's no reason for that.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I love that because a lot of people think that if they're having these emotional reactions, that something is wrong with them. But it's like you said, it's not. It's doing its job.
Right. Yes. You're here. Let me give you another example. So let's just say that you are taking your elephant to the market. Your elephant
Okay.
carries the goods for you. You're going to the market. If the elephant is too big, you cannot move the elephant directly. You must instruct the elephant in a way that it understands. You can't move the
Mm,
elephant. And furthermore, if the elephant is like, let's just say the elephant's like traveling through somebody's garden, the elephant doesn't know any better. The elephant is just doing its best to do its job, and only you know that it's doing something that it needs to change. You can't do it correctly. You have to communicate with it effectively. Because the only way that the elephant will do anything different if you communicate with it in a different way. The elephant's healthy. It's doing its job. There's nothing wrong with the elephant. You just have to communicate with it in a way that makes sure that both of you are healthy and happy.
yeah. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
losing you on
I can
my
keep
end.
going.
1 second. Hold on. I'm losing you on my
Sure.
end. I feel like either my internet is out or yours. I don't know which one.
Okay. I can do a speed test real quick. And if it keeps
Yeah, let
happening,
me
I
do this.
can.
Yeah, if it keeps happening, what we'll do is I can refresh and then we'll just do a recording and not live. How about that?
Okay, sure. And
Speed.
before that, if it's still going on, I can actually move closer to my router right now if you like.
Okay.
Just
That's
to
perfect. That
so
would be
yeah.
great.
So my internet is actually fine. It could be that I'm 12 feet from the Wi-Fi, but I'm going to just move right next to it.
Okay.
There
I'm
we go.
testing my speed over here as well.
Sure.
Okay. It says, all right, internet connection very fast. So it should be fine on my end. And it seems like it's gotten better on your end.
Okay. Well, it's
Well,
probably my fault.
nope.
I'm now right next to the router. So okay. So and
Um,
go ahead.
no, you can go ahead.
Okay. Well, I mean, again, I can. This is a fascinating topic to me as well, and I could talk about it forever. Um, and I don't know how much you talk about this topic, but society absolutely wants you to believe A, that there's something wrong with you, and B, that there's nothing you can do about it. We are,
Exactly.
yeah, we are absolutely trained by society to um, to have problems because, in a very broad sense, every single industry is. I saw a great quote the other day. The doctor wants you to be sick. You know, the mechanic wants your car to be broken. The psychological industry wants you to be insane. They make far more money off of you when you're sick, fat, and crazy than when you're healthy.
100%.
So what I tell people is there's literally no one except for you and your close circle that actually cares about you, that actually wants you to be healthy. Everybody else either doesn't care or actively wants you to be unhealthy.
Wow. You are speaking my language right now.
Yeah, I mean, we could keep going on that topic. I mean, I'm sure
is that on purpose? Is that on purpose, or do you think that it's is that by design? Do you think, in your opinion?
Well, number one, it's absolutely by design. And even if it weren't by design, it would happen like in a socially evolutionary state. And like, for example, if there was a medical industry that did not want us to be sick, would go out of business and be taken over by.
I hate to do this to you, but let me. I'm going to end this, and let's jump on Zoom. It might be this software, okay?
Sure.
I just want to make sure we get this because I want to. This is powerful, okay? I'm going to end this, and I'm going to send you a link in Zoom in just a minute on email. So I'll see you in a second, okay?
Sounds good. So I will hit leave.